He's too good for you, Em. Don't screw this up. Emma gripped the worn purse tighter, the Riverside Cafe suddenly feeling like a gladiator's arena. Her sister Catherine, a marketing shark, thought Daniel Hartwell needed softening up. And Emma, well, she always played the dutiful understudy. Fine, she could do awkward. What Catherine didn't know, what no one seemed to notice, was the quiet strength Emma carried within, the boundless empathy she poured into those daycare kids downtown. A secret weapon, if you will. They thought she was just a stand-in, a favor. They have no idea how her quiet kindness will change everything, how this night will rewrite all their fates. It starts now. At 39, Daniel had built his consulting empire through careful planning and attention to detail. Even his personal life had become a series of calculated decisions, especially since becoming a single father to his 5-year-old daughter, Lily. 3 years ago, when his assistant, Rebecca, had suggested a blind date with her friend's sister, a successful marketing executive who loves children. Daniel had reluctantly agreed, but the young woman standing hesitantly beside his table, clutching a worn purse, and wearing a simple blue dress that had clearly seen better days, was definitely not a marketing executive. "Excuse me," she said softly, her voice barely audible above the evening bustle of the restaurant. Are you Daniel Hartwell?" "I am," Daniel replied, noting the nervous energy radiating from this unexpected visitor, "though I think there might be some confusion. I'm supposed to be meeting Catherine Morrison." The woman finished, her cheeks flushing pink. I'm her sister. Emma Catherine couldn't make it tonight, and she sent me instead." Daniel studied Emma's face, seeing embarrassment mixed with something that looked like resignation. She was perhaps 25, with light brown hair pulled back in a simple ponytail and hazel eyes that seemed to apologize for her very existence. "She sent you instead," Daniel repeated slowly, trying to process this unusual turn of events. Emma's flush deepened. "I know how it sounds. Catherine got called away on business, some emergency client meeting, and she didn't want to cancel at the last minute. She thought, she said someone should keep the appointment. And since I was free, the explanation trailed off, and Daniel could see Emma glancing toward the door, as if calculating her chances of escaping this awkward situation. "Please sit down," Daniel said gently, gesturing to the chair across from him. Something about Emma's obvious discomfort touched him more than any polished confidence could have. Emma hesitated. "Mr. Hartwell, I don't want to waste your time. I'm not. Catherine is the one you wanted to meet. I'm just the substitute." "Maybe so," Daniel said, "but you're here now, and I'm curious to meet someone brave enough to show up for her sister's blind date." Emma perched on the edge of the chair, as if ready to flee at any moment. It wasn't brave. It was more like obligation. "Catherine said it would be rude to leave you waiting without any explanation." Daniel found himself intrigued despite the unusual circumstances. "Tell me about yourself, Emma Morrison. What do you do when you're not covering for your sister?" Emma's laugh held little humor. "I work at a daycare center downtown. Nothing glamorous. I help take care of kids whose parents work long hours. It pays enough to cover rent and groceries mostly." The honesty in her answer was refreshing. Most people Daniel met in professional settings spent considerable energy presenting themselves in the best possible light. Emma seemed to be doing the opposite, as if she wanted to make clear how unsuitable she was for whatever Catherine had in mind. "Do you enjoy working with children?" Daniel asked. For the first time, Emma's face brightened slightly. "I love it, actually. The kids are amazing, so honest and creative, and full of hope. Even when their circumstances are difficult, they find ways to be joyful. They teach me something new every day." Daniel felt a familiar warmth at her words. "I have a 5-year-old daughter, Lily. She's with her babysitter tonight, probably trying to convince Mrs. Chen to let her stay up past her bedtime." Emma's smile became genuine. 5 is such a wonderful age. They're old enough to have real conversations, but still young enough to believe in magic. "What's she like?" As Daniel began describing Lily's latest adventures, her determination to teach their dog to read her elaborate tea parties with stuffed animals, her insistence that vegetables would taste better if they came in different colors. He noticed Emma relaxing for the first time since she'd arrived. "She sounds delightful," Emma said, "and it sounds like you're a wonderful father." That's rare. Something in Emma's tone suggested personal experience behind the observation, but Daniel didn't press. Instead, he found himself asking about her work at the daycare, about the children she cared for, about the challenges of working with families under stress. Emma's answers revealed someone with genuine empathy and deep understanding of children's needs. She spoke about kids whose parents worked multiple jobs, about finding creative ways to provide stability and enrichment on a limited budget, about the small victories that made difficult days worthwhile. "There's this little boy, Marcus." "Emma," said her eyes lighting up. "His mom works 2 jobs, so he's with us from early morning until evening. When he started, he barely spoke to anyone. But last week, he helped a new girl who was crying on her first day. He gave her his favorite crayon and told her that yellow was the color of sunshine, and sunshine always made things better." Daniel found himself completely absorbed in Emma's stories, forgetting entirely about the sophisticated marketing executive he'd expected to meet. Here was someone who understood what mattered. Not corporate achievements or networking connections, but the daily acts of kindness that actually improve people's lives. "Emma," Daniel said during a brief pause in their conversation, "I have to ask, why did Catherine really send you tonight?" Emma's comfort evaporated instantly. She looked down at her hands, fidgeting with her simple silver ring. "The truth," she said quietly. "Catherine took one look at your photo and decided you were too good-looking and successful for her to handle. She gets nervous around men like you, powerful, wealthy, confident. She thought maybe if you met me first, you'd be less intimidating when you actually went out with her." Daniel stared at Emma in disbelief. "She sent you as what?" "A practice run." Emma's nod was barely perceptible. "Catherine's always been like that. She's brilliant at her job, but dating makes her panic. She figured if I could survive dinner with you and report back, she'd know what to expect." The all-casualness with which Emma described being used as her sister's advanced scout made Daniel's chest tighten with something that felt like anger. Not at Emma, but at a system of relationships that had taught her to accept such treatment as normal. "An augur to this?" Daniel asked gently. Emma shrugged. "Catherine helped pay for my community college classes when I was getting my early childhood education certificate. I owe her a lot. Besides," she added with a self-deprecating smile, "it's not like I had exciting plans tonight." Daniel leaned back in his chair, studying Emma's face. Here was someone who'd been asked to serve as a placeholder, a warm-up act for the real event, and she'd accepted the role with grace and dignity. More than that, she'd been more engaging, more genuine, and more interesting than any woman he'd met in months. "Emma," Daniel said slowly, "what if I told you I'm not interested in meeting Catherine?" Emma's eyes widened. But she's successful and beautiful and sophisticated. She's everything you should want in a partner." "According to who?" Daniel asked. "Emma, you've spent the last hour telling me about your work with children, about finding joy in small moments, about the importance of kindness over ambition. Those are exactly the qualities I'd want in a partner. Those are exactly the qualities I'd want in a mother figure for Lily." Emma stared at him as if he'd spoken in a foreign language. "Mr. Hartwell, I think you're confused." "I'm not. I mean, I work at a daycare. I live in a studio apartment. I drive a 15-year-old car when it's running. I'm not the kind of woman men like you date." "Men like me," Daniel repeated. "Emma, what exactly do you think men like me want?" Emma's answer came quickly, as if she'd given this considerable thought. "Success status. Someone who can hold their own at business dinners and charity galas. Someone who won't embarrass you in front of important people." Daniel felt his heart break a little for this remarkable young woman who'd been convinced her worth was measured by external achievements rather than internal qualities. "Emma," he said gently, "would you like to know what I actually want? I want someone who understands that the most important conversations happen at bedtime, story time, not board meetings. I want someone who sees children as individuals deserving respect, not obstacles to adult convenience. I want someone genuine enough to show up for her sister's blind date and honest enough to tell me exactly why she's here." Emma's eyes filled with tears. "You don't mean that. I absolutely mean it. Emma, would you be willing to let me take you and Lily to the Children's Museum this weekend, not as Catherine's substitute, not as a favor to anyone, but because I genuinely like to spend time with you." The invitation seemed to overwhelm Emma completely. She looked around the restaurant as if seeking an escape route, then back at Daniel's earnest face. "I don't understand," she whispered. "Why would you want to spend time with me when you could have Catherine?" Daniel reached across the table and gently took Emma's hand. "Because in the past hour, you've shown me more authenticity, more compassion, and more wisdom than I've encountered in months of professional networking. Because you light up when you talk about children, and that tells me everything I need to know about your character. Because you agreed to an uncomfortable situation to help your sister, and that tells me about your loyalty." He paused, choosing his words carefully. "And because when I imagine introducing someone to Lily, I can't think of anyone I'd rather have her meet than someone who understands that a child's favorite crayon can be the most important gift in the world." The relationship that developed over the following months surprised everyone except Lily, who took to Emma immediately. Emma's natural understanding of children combined with her patient nature and creative spirit made her an ideal companion for both father and daughter. What surprised Daniel was how much he learned from Emma about finding joy in simple moments. She taught him to see his work-life balance through different eyes, to appreciate the privilege of being present for Lily's childhood, to understand that success meant different things to different people. Emma, for her part, slowly came to believe that she deserved the love and respect Daniel offered so freely. With his encouragement, she enrolled in night classes toward her bachelor's degree in early childhood development, with plans to eventually start her own preschool serving working families. When Daniel proposed 6 months later, it was during one of Lily's elaborate tea parties with stuffed animals as witnesses and Emma's favorite yellow crayons serving as makeshift engagement rings until the real one could be properly fitted. Catherine, when she finally met Daniel at their engagement party, confessed that her emergency meeting had been fabricated because she'd been too nervous to face the date herself. "I never imagined you'd actually fall for Emma," Catherine said, though her tone held admiration rather than disappointment. Daniel looked across the room where Emma was helping Lily distribute cupcakes to the other children at the party, both of them laughing at some private joke. "Neither did I," Daniel replied. "But that's the thing about the best things in life. They're usually the ones you never see coming. Sometimes the most beautiful love stories begin not with careful planning, but with the courage to see unexpected worth in unexpected